Hey everyone, George here, and it's been a really long time since I posted just about anything, and I ran into a problem. So rather than try to figure it out myself, I thought maybe someone in the 7,000 subscribers out there has seen this issue before. Probably not. Very rare issue, but still, why not let you all have a crack at this problem that I'm dealing with and really haven't been able to figure out. So this is our cave system. It's a VR system, it's a walk-in system. This is a 10-sided variation. If you know the difference, and you know there's a cave and a cave 2, this is sort of an amalgam of the technologies using projection displays, rear projection displays, but oriented in this sort of semicircle configuration. The issue I'm having, and you may not be able to see this easily, and it's not just the color. Things haven't been calibrated yet properly, but if we take a look over here, and you look at this screen here, you might notice some odd flickering going on. And on a camera, it might be difficult to see, but if you see the one next to it, yes, the color is different, ignore that. Just notice that the flickering isn't present on this screen over here. And it has to do with whenever I turn on the specific stereo method that allows this thing to run in VR for our system. So we're gonna come over here behind the scenes really quick, and as you can see, we've got our rear mounted projectors. These are digital projection units. We're loaning this one, or we are being graciously donated for a brief period of time, this unit next to me, and I need to get it calibrated with the rest of our system. Well, that's eventually, I need to get it working properly first. I've done everything I can at this point. So if we come over the top of one of these projectors, we've got a series of menus, as you can see here. We can click on menu, and we do get a menu that pops up over there. And I've already tried, and I'll bring it up, to make some changes, but really what I want you to see is, if we go to 3D settings, I'm gonna do that on the problem projector, then we're gonna come over to a projector that I know works. We're gonna do the same thing, go to menu, and we can get a menu that pops up over here. Let's try that again, there we are. And we're going to go to 3D as well. Okay, so let's hit escape because I went too far. And now let's take a look at the menu, because otherwise you're going to be looking at it reversed, and that's pretty much damn near impossible, to tell you the truth. It's very difficult to work with, reading it backwards and sideways, and then flipped as well, because everything here is portrait instead of landscape. So all the controls are also rotated. So if you ever play a video game where you know, your controls are completely skewed for like a short duration in order to mess with you from power up, that's kind of what it's like to work with some of these systems. But anyway, what we see over here are the settings here. And we have things like, actually it might be worse now because I think the camera's flip-flopping, and maybe I can reverse the video later. But anyway, we've got things like 3D enabled, but it's this frame rate multiplier that's set to 2x that's actually causing my issue. And over here, I've put the same settings, as you can see here. 2x, sequential, positive, and left, as well as a comparable sync offset and a dark interval between the time that they update. So if we come over here now, you're not going to notice the flashing now, because as soon as the menu is turned on, it turns off, it changes the settings so that this is not actually an issue, as you can see here. We come down here and I go to 2x instead, right here. I go to 2x, and I'll hit escape now. If I do that, the flickering actually stops, all right? But the issue is I need that on 2x for the 3D to run. I'll show you in just a second. So these utilize, here we go, these sort of glasses here, the liquid crystal type that you see here, not polarized. These are shutter glasses, so they're actually, they have an IR emitter up here, which you can see. Let's see, one of these IR emitters is right here. Maybe, I don't know if I have a filter on this camera. If I don't have a filter, you should have seen some of the IR light. Now that's normally invisible, but it is pulsing into the world, and these glasses receive that right here. And with that, they're able to keep in time with the updates of the system, so that the right eye becomes opaque and the left eye gets whatever's on the screen, and then vice versa as it continues to pulse and update over time. The balls are retroreflective markers. They deal with the tracking system, nothing to do with what we're doing right now. But if we come over here now and we turn on Windows, I can launch a demonstration that's supposed to work in 3D. And what we're going to see is that it, well, simply doesn't. We get a very interesting effect. So let's come over here. So the program we can run this in a couple different applications we have, but the fastest and easiest one for me to test with is an older application that we no longer really use called Worldviz Wizard. And let me make sure I have an Xbox controller turned on. So you can see here, it's easy. We have other controllers, but the Xbox, if it dies, I can run down to Walmart, Target, or wherever and pick up a replacement. Whereas these ones, like the Flystick 3 you see here from ART, bit more expensive. And they ship from Germany last time I checked, so there's some waiting if something breaks. So I typically use these when I'm doing simple stuff, when I don't need a forward vector or a pointing location, which you can actually solve with the Xbox controller as well. But anyway, so here we are with Worldviz Wizard. These are old applications I made in my younger years. This one's a monarch butterfly demonstration, but actually to get this to work, I'm gonna need to do a little bit more setup. We actually need to turn on the ART tracking system, and we're also going to need to load what's called TrackD. So this program is called dtrack, and dtrack is aggregating all of the information from a collection of 8 cameras, which have 2 client computers on the top behind up here, and those go to what I'll call the server computer in the server room, which is behind this wall over here. And then that pumps to the computer cluster of servers, which actually are responsible for rendering and displaying and keeping everything in sync. That program is called dtrack. Confusingly, the other program we use to aggregate data across multiple kinds of inputs, such as the Xbox controller or dtrack or whatever, is called TrackD. Fun stuff, right? So we're going to launch TrackD as well. And what this is going to do for us is launch a console window on the screen, and it is going to aggregate the information. We can see it is bringing in information from that dtrack program. We have dtrack giving us a bunch of positional information and markers. And this one, though, down here is giving us the Xbox controller stuff over here. Wow, I'm getting really off topic. Let's get to the actual point of this entire thing. And that is, I'm going to come over here to the butterfly lifecycle. I'm going to hit run on Wizard, because usually I run things from the editor instead of making executables, which is probably stupid and causes poor performance. But anyway, what we're going to notice right now is, yes, the color is different. Yes, we know that. That's not the issue we're dealing with today. What we are dealing with is what happens when it finally fires. Now, this system has been cold, and it's the first time I'm turning it on. Oh, wow, I know why. Okay, so we're going to see the problem on 2 screens. I'm going to show you how it disappears really quickly. So behind me are the screens as they should be, okay? And it's shuttering. I'd have to look at the actual frame rate. Something tells me like 59 point something is the sync rate, 59 point something hertz. But if we come behind me over here, am I going to see this on the camera, or is the update rate too slow? See if I get closer, what happens. So you might not be able to see this, and actually I think it's literally in time with the camera's feed. So you're not seeing this, but I'm getting this really nasty back and forth shuttering effect. Okay, I'm actually getting it on both of these screens. The reason I'm getting on this one is because I have that menu open. And when that menu is open, for whatever reason, it cannot do, I guess, the update rate or something, and it turns to junk. But I'm getting that same thing on this screen over here. Now, if we come over here, whoopsie, things are a mess back here because I'm debugging things. We go to menu, and we actually delete the menu, or turn it off. That shuttering stops this alternating back and forth between these two. However, on the other screen, that shuttering is still persistent, which is the issue. So even though, if I come back to this screen over here, and I go to menu, and we go to 3D, again, and now I go to frame sequential multiplier, and I change that to 2x, and I hit escape to match the other one, it stops jittering back and forth as if it's like a frame, not frame behind, but it's like it's taking twice as long to render as anything else. Maybe that's because the frame multiplier is set to 1 instead of 2, but I still get this very slightly weird, you can see it there it is. See that coloration, that sort of blue, red, one of my students actually called it anaglyph. I don't have a better way of describing it. Of course it's not, it has nothing to do with that whatsoever, but that's kind of the visual anomaly you get. And what you'll notice is next to it, we don't actually get that anywhere. Check the NVIDIA settings, I've checked the 3D settings, I've done all that stuff. I have tried to swap the boxes, which is not easy because when the system was installed, they did a very good job. And they zip tied everything down. So I've had to kind of dismantle a bunch of that and start running lines from one projector to the other to see whether or not this is a projector issue, if it is one of these, I think it's an Extron box. Yes, Extron box, which converts the DVI cable because the length to the computers is too long to run a DVI cable. So it's converted into a Cat6 representation, whatever that is. I don't know internally what's going on, but either way, it now uses Cat6 to transmit that video signal to the other end from the computer so that I can then go to the projector. And nothing else is really different. We have just a standard DVI input right here in the back. That appears to work properly as well, and nothing else really seems to be the issue. So I don't know what this is. I've gone through, I've checked the other end. I've gone in there and checked to see what was going on. I flipped the cables over there to see if something's going on. All these computers are running Windows 10. Say what you will about it, but that's what they're running. They don't have any kind of weird NVIDIA settings either. It's whatever it was set to be. They're all clean installs of Windows 10. Actually, I did this over COVID in order to get our lab up to date with the current operating systems because we were running Windows 7 beforehand, and there are all kinds of issues with doing that in some of the software we're working with. Let me know if you've ever seen something like this. Or actually, you know what? Let me know if you work in this area at all and you have any input on things that I could try or do. And if you don't work in this area, well, you got to see something behind the scenes and how some of this stuff works. See you all another time. Hopefully a shorter impromptu video than this one. Kind of rambled a bit, but that's today in a nutshell. Bye.